'90s when I came out, it was always, it wasn't you didn't know about a bunch of these other schools that are out in the country, man. You really just kind of knew about Miami, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, those type schools or whatever, whatever. And I had letters slash offers from majority of those schools, but I kind of fell in love with the original swag of the University of Miami, and it was kind of I don't know, man, like love at first sight, and I just felt like at the time that they fit my personality, and I loved what they were doing, man. We used to kick butt, take names, and let you know what we were doing.
Okay, so 92, that was your first year? 92.
I graduated high school in 1992. And I was in the university. I was at the University of Miami from 92 to 95.
Yeah.
I left after that season.
Okay, let's get to let's talk about this Erickson. What was your first recollection of being around Dennis Erickson? What kind of coach was he? The type of man he was to you?
You know what? We're starting to have some some difficulties again. Let me. I'm sorry, Sean. Can you ask that question again?
Yeah, my question was Dennis Erickson. Dennis Erickson, your coach. What's your first recollections of Dennis Erickson as a man, as a coach towards you?
My phone kept connecting to the Bluetooth in my vehicle. Trying to kill two birds with one stone here, man.
No?
All right, yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay, oh yeah, my question was with Dennis Erickson, that was your head coach. What was your first recollections of being with Dennis Erickson, and what was he as a coach towards you and as a man towards you? Talk about your experience with Dennis Erickson.
Oh man, listen, I have to say, I haven't been around a whole lot of coaches like Coach Erickson, man. He is definitely a player's coach. He loved us through and through, and it wasn't anything you can ask of him. Sometimes we weren't the model student athletes, and we get in trouble, things of that nature, man. You could call him anytime of night, any day, holiday, whatever the case may be. And he was for you. He was there for you, man. I really love Coach Erickson, man. Great guy. Nothing but great things to say about him. Nothing but respect for him.
Okay, so going to the next 92 season, you play for the champion Miami Hurricanes of 91, play against Iowa. Obviously, he was dealing with the Hurricane Andrew situation. Talk about getting ready for Iowa, that first game in 92.
Well, no, you gotta remember that was Alabama Sugar Bowl. Um, we went to the Sugar Bowl, and I don't know, man. I think what we thought we saw on film, um, I think we just thought that we were going to go in there and just walk all over them. But I think Alabama had a great game plan for us. They had some really good athletes on the other side over there. They sent quite a few people. Didn't happen.
No, I was
We
referring to
are.
the Iowa game. That was the first regular season game to start the season. I was referring to that game. Oh
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, not the Alabama
Yeah.
game. Well, yeah, because that was the first game of the season to start the season was against Iowa at Iowa, won 24-7. I wanted to talk about the game first, but that's okay.
Well, was also my red shirt year. So I didn't make the trip on that one, but that was kind of it was weird because University of Iowa was one of the schools that I actually took a visit to, and I had a great visit, but just between the plane ride and you know, the ride from the airport to the campus, and I ain't gonna lie to you, it was pretty cold up there too. I was like, I think I'll stay down south. But kind of answer the question, just kind of preparing for that, just preparing for that season in general. After that hurricane, man, it was I think it was rough mentally on everybody. We ended up having to go up to Dodgertown and Vero, and we did. We finished camp. We finished camp up there, but I still feel like we were able to persevere. For the most part, and again, we prepared the best that we could, and we went on and did what we could do.
Okay, I want to talk about the Florida State matchup. Obviously, 30 years ago in '92, you played against Florida State. Wild right 2, won 19-16. Talk about the memories of that matchup in the Orange Bowl.
Well, hey, listen. I mean, for what it's worth, Miami, Florida State, arguably the premier matchup in college football, but definitely probably in the top 10. Especially when we're both playing well. It was huge. It was huge for us. And to be honest with you, just recalling the game, obviously it was a back and forth, but I felt like they had the momentum the majority of the game, and we were able to, put on the score late and kind of hold them off, and then they had a chance to win it there at the end. And I don't know, it was kind of like it was a weird feeling, like it was almost like we knew it was going to miss. I don't know, but it was weird.
Okay, so the following game after that, you went to Penn State, and you won a tough one up there. Talk about that game winning at Penn State, 17-14.
Like I said that one more time.
I'm talking about the Penn State game, the Penn State matchup. You went to their place, and you was able to win 17-14. You have memories of that matchup?
You said the Penn State game?
Yeah, Penn State.
Yeah, that was another one that I had to watch on TV. But again, Penn State is one of the traditional powerhouses in college and collegiate football as well. And for us to have to get up, go on the road and go up there and play them. I know they have one of the largest stadiums in the country. I think they're like 106 or 108, something like that. For University of Miami to be able to go up and get in front of a crowd like that, obviously we're no strangers to playing on national television, so that wasn't a big deal. But just being able to go up there in that atmosphere and be able to compete at that level, man, it was great for the University of Miami. Great for our program, great for the state of Florida.
Okay, we'll skip towards it was a game against Syracuse. Went up to Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. That was a tough one, tough game. Also, beat Syracuse at the Carrier Dome, 16-10. Talk about that win on the road at the Carrier Dome in Syracuse.
Now, listen, I will say this: as dominant as a football program as the University of Miami were at that time, we were still going to get everybody's best game, and I don't feel like we ever really played down to competition. I think teams kind of rose up to kind of play us. That's anytime. I don't know if you've ever been to that stadium before, but it's a tough place to play. It gets really, really loud in there, and just thinking back at some of the players that they had on that team, they had some good players on that team, and they came out and they competed.
Okay, so you already talked about the Alabama game, about why you lost that game so much. Fast forward to '93, you play against Boston College, your first game as in '93. New quarterback, Frank Costa. Talking about him as a quarterback, you win the first game against Boston College, 23-7. Talk about that game in '93.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, Boston College had some of the biggest kids I think I've ever seen in my life. To be honest with you, they were huge. Very physical, very physical football team. And I don't know what the weather's like, you know, year round, but it just seems like it's always a little nippy up there. No matter what we playing, whether it's early in the season or late in the season, it always seems to be a little chilly up there. So, but I said, again, another Boston is another football rich town, and everybody comes out and supports that team. And the fans there are, although they get a little rowdy, so it's another difficult place to play. And like I said, they were a big physical team, and anytime, yeah, we were fast, but anytime you run up against a team that's going to play physical, you're going to have some challenges there.
Okay, another game from that season, went to Colorado, faced Cordell Stewart. He went 35-29. Talk about playing that altitude in Boulder, Colorado. You won that game 35-29 against Colorado.
Yeah, man. That was Cordell Stewart. That was Rashad Salam. That was Michael Westbrook. That was they had another receiver. They had another receiver that went first round. They had a tight end went first round. They had a defensive end, a linebacker. Man, that was they had the enemy. I tell you what, the list goes on and on. That team was stacked. And we were able to go out there and handle our business, man. I tell you what, there is a Hall of Fame guy that actually put himself on the map. I remember correctly, he had like 17 tackles, an interception, and a forced fumble. I remember my guy James Stewart had a huge game. God bless the dead. Marcus Carey, had a big game at safety. But I tell you what, man, we got in a huge brawl. We got in a huge brawl. I don't know if you remember that game. We got in a huge brawl at that game, and it was one of those situations where we were still the youth. We came out, ran through their stretch lines and things of that nature, just kind of let them know, hey, we here. Like I said, we were kind of, when I was there, it was kind of the original swag. Speaking of the atmosphere, man, I tell you what, bro, like we came out for pregame. It's like you jogged out on the field, and it's like somebody was sitting on your chest, and so playing at that altitude, it wasn't easy for us either. Took us a little while to get used to it, but at the end of the day, even with as many good athletes as they had on that team, I think we were, obviously we were a little bit better, and we were able to prevail and get the win.
Okay, now I'm going to skip to the Florida State matchup. They was number one in the country. You guys were ranked number three. You had their number for the last 3 years, 1990 to 1992. You lose 20 to 10. Let's talk about losing to them. Because it wasn't y'all wasn't used to losing to Florida State that much at that time. You had beaten them 3 straight years. Let's talk about that win. That unfortunate loss to Florida State 20 to 10.
mean, but just think about it. Why right, why left, why you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not like the games weren't competitive.
Yeah.
They were dog fights down to the end, and they just so happened, those guys their number got called, they answered, and they got the best of us. They got the best of us that week. So and they were number one in the country for a reason. They don't just throw that number at you. You know what I mean? You gotta do a little something to be deserving of being, ranked number one in the country. So they had a very good team that year, and they got us.
Okay, another game that stands out was against West Virginia. Ryan Collins played in that game. It was like quarterback issues. Frank Costa. Now you got Ryan Collins, but you lose the game, unfortunately 17-14. You still had a chance to win a national championship, but unfortunately goes to West Virginia. Talk about that game.
What was that last game? What was that last thing you said?
West Virginia. At West Virginia, he was at number 9. West Virginia was ranked number 4. We lost the game 17-14.
Right.
Yeah, Ryan Collins was the quarterback.
Yeah, what's that saying? You know what I'm saying? If you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one, you don't have none.
Yeah.
I think that at that time, Frank was, a little bad patch. You had Ryan who had started, a bunch of games or whatever the case may be. Still really talented quarterback, but it is what it is, man. They got us. That's one of those you win some, you lose some. I don't think that they were more talented than us, but sometimes the ball just bounces a certain way, and things just don't go your way, and sometimes you dig yourself in a hole and too deep of a hole, and you just can't get out of it. So yeah, stuff happens.
Okay, so the Fiesta Bowl, surprisingly, Miami wasn't used to getting shut out. It was 29-0. What went wrong in that game against Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl? It was a 29-0.
I think that was the Desert Swarm team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Levy, running back from them. I just remember, man. I remember going there and just thinking, you know what? We're faster than them. You know what I mean? Like but they were a lot faster than we really had anticipated. I feel, and sometimes you look at stuff on film and it doesn't really equate to what's really going on. Real game time beat, and I just tell you, man, they just dominated us. They were faster than us. I felt like they were better prepared, and they were faster than us, and we just got caught up. We got caught up in the perfect storm. Just thinking that we were gonna be faster than them. It's just like we've had so much success against West Coast teams, and nothing against the West Coast, but we felt like a lot of those teams on the West Coast were more, just not as physical, more finesse, not as physical. But Arizona was just the opposite of that. It's the other one, man. That we took one on the chin.
All right, so let's fast forward to 1994. This is a major moment. You beat Georgia Southern, 56-0. That set record for the most home winning games, the longest winning streak in college football for its home winning streaks. 58. Let's talk about being part of that. Start the season, you went 56-0 against Georgia Southern to set the record for most home wins in a row at 58.
I tell you what, man, that was something, part of history. I was so blessed to be, a part of that. And you just when you really just go back and think about, that accomplishment, being able to win that many home games, being able to hold home field down, for that amount of years, man, it's a huge accomplishment, man. And I'm like I said, I'm just truly blessed and honored to say I was, a part of the, be a part of that, be a part of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that streak came to an end against Washington. Um, what went wrong in that game, obviously there's a history between Miami and Washington. Shared the national championship the year before you came to Miami at 91, but you lose to them 38 to 20 against Washington. Snapping that streak, they snapped the streak at 58 games. At the Orange Bowl, talk about that unfortunate loss.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's just another unfortunate situation, man. They came all the way across the country and kicked our butts. Uh, and gosh, man, I can't think of the name of that running back. I'm looking right at him because I
Napoleon
was
Kaufman.
talking about him. Yeah, Napoleon. Yeah.
Napoleon Kaufman.
Listen,
Napoleon
man.
Kaufman.
He was, honestly, man, he was probably one of the fastest guys I've ever seen in person out on the football field. I don't mean on the track. Just as a football player. Um, he did some things to a very fast physical defense that teams normally not are not able to do to us. And we had, like I said, man, from the word go, opening whistle, bro. We had issues with him trying to stop him, and I don't know, man. Very very disappointing. Um, very hurtful. And you feel like you let the city down, you let your school down, you let all the great ones that came before you down. Everyone that was a part of that legacy of getting that home win streak together, you let them down. So it was very disappointing, man. Very very disappointing.
Okay, so fast forward to Florida State. You got revenge beat Florida State after losing the year before at the Orange Bowl. You went 34 to 20.
Thing of beauty. Thing of beauty.
Okay, now fast forward to the Orange Bowl. They had a chance, a slight chance to win the national championship. Obviously, Nebraska and Penn State were the top two teams. But you had a chance, to get into that conversation. You was up, I think 17-7 against Nebraska, but got tired. Defensively, Miami played great. Offensively, you got off to a great start offensively, but you got worn down. Talk about that unfortunate loss, 24-17 to Nebraska.
Yeah. I got two words for you. Tommy Frazier. I mean, he went down in the first half. He went down in the first half, and I was like, oh man, bro, we got this one in the books. I got I'm gonna get me a national championship. I'm gonna get me a national championship, man. I thought we were gonna be able to win that thing and tie. Because they were still splitting national championships back then. So I was hoping that I would be able to get a national championship, man. But man, I tell you what, man, Tommy Frazier came back in the second half. He came back in the second half and ignited the football team, ignited Nebraska, and they played inspired football that second half, man. I can remember Warren Sapp, trying to rally the troops. But once they got that running game going, man, him and Lawrence Phillips, and they had a big fullback. It was like a three-headed monster, man. They was hitting us with trap up the middle. They were tossing it to Lawrence Phillips, and then they would run an option with Tommy, and then once you start in on that, trying to get all that stuff, then they went over the top on us. So very talented football team. And like I said, when Tommy Frazier came back in that second half, man, that changed the whole complexity of the football game.
Yeah, Nebraska, they scored 15 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. 15 unanswered points. Corey Schlesinger was the fullback that scored on two key touchdown runs by him, and unfortunately, blew a 17-7 lead. All right, so 95 rolls around. Now, it was the beginning of the end for Dennis Erickson. Was you surprised that he left Miami to go to Seattle Seahawks in the NFL?
Uh, you know, the only thing I think the only thing I think that upset us was because it had been in the rumor mill that some NFL jobs were open and he was one of the top candidates. So when we didn't think he was going to leave, he was saying he loved Miami football, that's what he wanted to be, and we didn't think he was going to leave. And then next thing you know, a month or so later, boom, he's up out of there. But with that being said, at the time, me being a 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid, yeah, I was upset with him, but not understanding the business side of it. You don't always get an opportunity, to leave. And let's just face it, now University of Miami coach can make some decent money, but still not the type of money when you start comparing uh, coaches in other leagues, SEC, for example, and then even coaches in our league, in our conference, rather. So to be able to go and make that life changing financial decision for your family and for yourself, I don't blame them. I don't blame them now. We were mad at him all about 3 minutes, because again he was so good to us, but I think we were more hurt than mad than angry because we just lost our coach.
Okay, so 95 rolls around your senior year. Went through a difficult year that year because you had one year bowl ban, so you see sanctions, and here comes Butch Davis. Talk about Butch Davis, what kind of man he was, what kind of coach he was. Your recollections about Butch Davis.
All right, so with me, I didn't have the opportunity of actually playing under Butch. Butch came in the spring, so I was able to. I had to go. I went to the spring with them, and it was one of those situations where he had a different philosophy as far as the running backs. I was a smaller guy, 5'7", buck 70 with my equipment on, and he wanted to play power football, and obviously, I didn't fit to that plan, and I remember just being so upset because the year before I had just led the nation in yards per carry, 10.1 yards per carry. So I just knew that I would have an opportunity to, I knew that I would have an opportunity to get some good playing time and things of that nature, be able to showcase my talents or whatever. But they brought this freshman in that hadn't even been on campus, and he was in front of me. And like I said, he had never even played a down. And I was like, man, fuck this junk, I'm out of here. Nah, it just so happens that kid that he put in front of me was a Hall of Famer. My name is Eric James. So it makes sense now, you know what I mean? But at the time, it didn't make sense to me. I was just like, hey man, shoot, what am I, chopped liver? But I ended up leaving and going up to the Canadian Football League and trying to pursue my football career up there.
So you never played in the NFL, you just played Canadian Football League?
Yeah, I left. I never played up under Butch. All I had was a spring with him.
Saying like the National Football League, you never played in the National Football League?
Oh no, only in Canada.
Okay. All right, let's fast forward to the Hurricanes of today. Mario Cristobal, obviously, Miami had a tough season this past season, going 5-7. A lot of guys, from your alma mater's leaving, have left. The transfer portal. Talk about that. You think the transfer portal is bad for college football or good?
I mean, I don't. The only reason I dislike the transfer portal is I'm a high school football coach, so it's killing the high school football player. Well, just high school football athletics in general. You got to think about it. I mean, you put this thing into perspective, man. I think the portal over 1,000 kids jump into the portal. You know, over 1,000 kids, 1,000 kids, not 100, 1,000 kids jumped into the portal. I think we have 130 Division One schools, something like that, across the country. Um, you know, and obviously it's not all from Division One schools, but I mean, bro, you start doing the math on that, man. That's crazy. The amount of kids that are leaving school. So now, where does the high school athlete go, right? So I look at it from both sides. If I was a college coach and my job is on the line, you know, um, whether that be, we just went three and just had a 3-win season, or we just had a 7-win season. So one side of the coin, you gotta get better, right? You gotta get better, you're gonna get fired. The other side of the coin is, hey man, like we're right there. We're a couple of players away from being able to be really, really good. So now, what do? Are you gonna say, all right, hey man, there's this 3-star, 4-star high school kid that I can get, but probably still gonna need a full year to develop, whatever the case may be. Or I can go get this kid that just transferred from Alabama that has been coached up. He's physically prepared, mentally prepared as far as knowing how to watch film and things of that nature. And so it's like it's kind of like a no-brainer, you know. And I just hated that no one um, is having the ability really to grab a high school class and develop it. Now, from the other side of the coin, it allows a team to go from worst to first. Hell, I take